Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. This bill, of course, reflects a manifesto commitment from the Conservative Party at the last election, a manifesto that delivered an overwhelming majority for the Conservative Party and a mandate to do precisely what we're doing today. Since last spring, Madam Deputy Speaker, a great many of my constituents have been alarmed by a still ever-increasing number of migrants making the dangerous Channel crossing. They are troubled by the risk to life, the reprehensible actions of illegal gangs exploiting vulnerable people, and the challenges to protect our own borders. This bill meets all three key concerns from my Orpington constituents for the reasons which I will set out, and so I will be strongly supporting it this evening. Before I begin, however, I would like to pay tribute to Border Force personnel for all the work that they do to save lives and keep our country safe. So thank you to them. Now, this bill is necessary because conflict and instability has displaced hundreds, if not thousands, or indeed millions of people over the past few decades. In 2015 alone, more than 1 million migrants crossed into Europe. And over the last 3 years, Channel crossings have increased, with 1,900 making this journey in 2019, quadrupling by 2020 to over 8,400. And in the last 6 months alone, this has reached almost 6,000. Happily give away.
On this issue, and it indicated at the beginning of the century the number of asylum claims was around 84,000 a year, down to 36,000 in 2019, the last year before the pandemic. Isn't this narrative of a deluge of asylum seekers somewhat overstated by the government?
I don't believe so, and I don't recall using the word deluge. It is undeniably a problem, and it is one of the largest things that feature in my inbox on a daily basis. Now, this has been exacerbated by criminal gangs who are making an immoral profit on human smuggling and trafficking. Critically, migrants are crossing through safe European countries and refusing to claim asylum there. In ever-growing numbers, migrants are being drawn to this country and the situation is becoming unsustainable. The UK is one of the world's most generous countries for refugee resettlement, and it is right. Happily.
Thank you, the honourable member giving way. He's making a wonderful speech. You made 2 points that I've sat up. First of all, that this has been a manifesto commitment to get this piece of legislation delivered. And secondly, that your inbox is full every single day of queries relating to this piece of legislation. Is it not the case, therefore, that overwhelmingly the British public want to see this issue dealt with that dominates the news every single day, and that is why the Home Secretary is bringing this piece of legislation to get it dealt with once and for all?
Madam Deputy Speaker, I agree with my honourable friend entirely. Listening to the debate on the Monitor in my office, I have to say the tone and content of some of the speeches from the opposition, I think, underline and reinforce why they are the opposition and not the government. Analysis has shown, Madam Deputy Speaker, that many migrants may actually be economic and not genuine refugees. Without this bill, our asylum system is in danger of being continually abused, so we must take steps, as my honourable friend has just said, to protect our own borders. Part 2 of the bill, which deals with asylum, is understandably vast, so I'll focus on some specific points arising from it. It is remarkable that all claims made by asylum seekers are processed in a very homogeneous way, and there is absolutely no distinction between those who have entered the UK legally or irregularly. And 62% of applicants in the 12 months ending September 2019 did so irregularly. So it is surely common sense that those who have respected our laws and entered our country via legal routes should be on a different footing to those who have sought more clandestine access. Clause 10 will change this by allowing for such differentiation to occur, whilst making the distinction that all genuine refugees will continue to be afforded the same protections under international law, and this will in turn help to deter dangerous crossings from being made. Clause 26 will make it possible for removals to a safe third country while an asylum claim is being heard, and so further deter activities which put lives at risk and, in several tragic cases, actually claims them. Clause 41 in Part 3 is a key part of this bill because it gives more powers to Border Force to meet the specific circumstances faced. The problem, as I've said, is severe. Not only are criminal gangs responsible for facilitating these crossings, they show no signs of stopping, and they are growing ever more expansionist, using larger vessels and carrying more people. Migrants crossing in small boats have thus far been intercepted and brought back to the UK, to have their asylum claims processed. At present, enforcement powers do not extend to ships in foreign or international waters, and Clause 41 would change this by giving Border Force the ability to require migrant vessels to leave UK waters and deter them from our shores. It also provides for controlling the vessel and returning it to a safe country, most likely in these instances where it originated from, so the northern beaches of France or Belgium, as well as any other country accepting disembarkation. Now, there have been claims made by those who oppose this bill that by legislating in this way, the UK would somehow be acting in breach of the 1951 UN Refugee Convention. This is false, Madam Deputy Speaker. The legislation is fully compatible with all international obligations and conventions. The 1951 Convention allows for different classifications where a refugee may not have come directly from a country of persecution. And in this instance, if migrants have already transited through a safe country, a safe European country, where they could have claimed asylum, then their return is not inconsistent. And who here in this House would consider France, Belgium, Germany or Italy not to be safe countries if someone had been in a country where they've seen the worst atrocities possible and would so be lucky to settle there happily?
I thank my honourable friend for giving way. He's made a very important point about travelling through safe countries, but does he not agree that these asylum seekers aren't just travelling through one safe country? They're very often travelling through many, many safe countries, essentially having a shopping trolley as to what they want, an economic migration. So the best way to actually deal with this is to deal with the issue up front and to actually have a meaningful policy, which is what this is here for.
I do agree with my honourable friend. It is a fact that people will travel, often by land, through several safe countries in order to get to the border of northern continental Europe, thereby to disembark for Calais or for Dover or other parts of southern England. Now, the simple truth of the matter is that between 2016 and 2019, the UK settled more refugees from outside Europe than any other EU member state. Similarly, safe and legal routes for those needing protection or to reunite with their families still exist. Over 5,400 family reunion visas were issued to partners and children, and over 29,000 family reunion visas have been issued in the last 5 years. There have been claims that the bill even reduces support for victims of human trafficking, and that would be very shocking if it were true, but Part 4 of the bill actually strengthens protections for victims of human trafficking and will be supporting by a package of non-legislative measures as part of the new plan for immigration to provide enhanced support for victims. The public, Madam Deputy Speaker, including my Orpington constituents, want to see strong but fair border controls. This bill is about creating a fair asylum system, both for those who need aid and for the British public. It does just that, and I congratulate my right honourable friend, the Home Secretary, and her ministers in bringing it forward.